Hi everybody, and welcome to my Unruly Housewife channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these adorable little miniature things for your doll chocolate makeup for your doll's house. They're kind of 1/12 scale, they're pretty good for that. Wendy Chadwick, she's loving them. As you can see, they fit pretty nicely with her hands. Boom, don't they, Wendy? She's about 6 foot tall if I translated her into real life. But her friend Julie Mendy, she's about 5'6" in real life, and she also fits pretty well with them. So yeah, I will show you how to make them. Oh, and let's not be sexist about it. Chadwick, the husband, he fits with the chocolate and the makeup as well, and I think he's definitely makes use of the makeup occasionally. So on with the show. And I will show you how I made those. Whoops. First of all, you are going to need this. It's not a huge investment. They're not terribly cheap. It's not a huge investment. It is and I've got it written down, 6 count big size mesh plastic canvas. And basically it's for people who do embroidery. And I think it's 6 count because it's 6 squares to the inch. Might have them hanging around. If you've got friends who do embroidery, they've probably got a spare one they could give you. They're not super cheap, but they are really useful for making models. So I will show you first the chocolate. I mean, all through the video I'm going to be giving you hints and tips. Some of this stuff kind of looks obvious, but when you do it, it's actually not as obvious as it looks, and I definitely think I can help you with it. So I've just got some brown polymer clay here. And I've made these little squares of chocolate. Let's just focus on that. You can see that. That one's I've put some decoration on to try and make it look, because some chocolates have things on them, don't they? The first thing to do is to warm your polymer clay up and flatten it out as much as you can. And then I'm going to put it through my pasta machine. Now, I'm going to put it through the pasta machine first of all on number 3. So that's quite thin. If you're not using a pasta machine, maybe you could use like an acrylic roller like this with some pieces of card either side to keep it straight. So I put that through my pasta machine on number 3. And now I'm going to combine it with this and put it through on number 1. Now we've got bubbles there and things. I'm not going to deal with those issues. Now in real life I would pop the bubbles and keep running it through a pasta machine until it's sorted its life out. So now I'm putting it through on number 1. If you're not familiar with pasta machine, just let me move my camera. Basically it works like this and it rolls the clay through there. Why did I do that with my camera? Must be crazy. But you do need to see it, because not everyone's a polymer clayer, are they? I'm always busy with the polymer clay community. So let's just pop this onto here so we don't keep getting that shine. And as you can see, it's made like a little... loads of little squares, and it's not going to take a sort of rocket scientist to work out that you want to cut along these grooves here until you get the shape of bar of chocolate that you want. I must say, let's go just too wide for this. And you can maybe imprint little patterns into the top. I'm not doing this very well because I'm doing it around a camera and a light. But there you go, and like for instance the one I patterned, I just did little diagonal lines across the top all the way across, but I'm not going to do that now. So there you go, I should bring that in. There you go, it makes a really cute little bar of chocolate, and you can do it more neatly. You want to bake that in the oven at the temperature and time prescribed by the packet, and what I do is I put this in with my baking tray so that I can see that it's exactly the right temperature, and then I add in the tile with my whatever chocolate once it's come to temperature, and I put some foil over the top like that, just a foil tray, just rest it over the top, and yeah, bake it until it's supposed to be baked. When it comes out, you can neaten it up if you want with a little bit of sandpaper, and I to make mine look a bit more sort of glossy, I put on Renaissance wax. Just put it on thinly let it dry, polished it off. You might want to do it with varnish, or maybe you just don't want to do it at all and just give it a bit of a rub with some soft denim until it has a bit of a sheen. So yeah, that's how to make chocolate, dead easy. Thing number 2 that I want to show you is tiling, and it's remarkably similar to chocolate. Now, I made tiling in 2 different ways. I made it where I baked the black clay and then I backfilled it with I softened up some polymer clay with liquid clay. So I actually use liquid Fimo with my Primo because I'm a rebel. But I pressed it into all the gaps and then scraped it off the top, baked it in the oven again, and then I sanded it. Now, it's made some quite neat looking tiles, but to me it hasn't got that dimensionality that I would have wanted. So it's one way of doing it, and it may not matter to you, but I kind of wanted it to look more dimensional. So I used a piece of my chocolate this morning and I tried some grout with that, and I grouted that with kind of I'll show you. I used some white, like soft pastel, scraped it off with a knife, mixed it in with some white acrylic paint, painted it on, and then I wiped the tops off, baked it. Oh no, I didn't bake it. No, I didn't even need to bake it. Just let it dry, and then I sanded it slightly. You could bake it, wouldn't matter. I think that that bears some bit messy. That bears some experimenting with, because I quite like the look of that. I like the fact that you can see that it's tiling more easily. But yeah, there's an idea there if you want to do tiling. These squares are the right size, not for your normal bathroom tiles, but you know, for that like little row of tiles that goes along the top of the big ones. Like we've got some of these in our bathroom. You could use that in your doll's house. So that's the tiling idea. And now we come to our makeup. I'm going to give you brief instructions for the lipsticks and the little powder and things and blusher, but I'm going to show you exactly how to make this palette, eyeshadow palette. So the first things you want to do is run your black clay through the pasta machine in exactly the same way as I described for the chocolate and the tiles, which is to put it through on number 3, then to add the clay to this and put it through on number 1. And that gets you that kind of depth that you have there. Now what you want to do, we're making the eyeshadow palette here, by the way. Now what you want to do is to cut your little squares out. I recommend with all these things to make a few. Make quite a few, because you are going to lose them for sure. They're so small. You're probably going to lose them, and you are definitely going to make some that you don't like in the process because it's so fiddly. So if you can make 6 of them instead of making 1, why not do that? Because, I mean, look how little amount of clay you're using and amount of things you're using. So yeah, my advice to you is to make a few. I made loads. I made loads of these little eyeshadow palettes. If you make these, you can choose your colours. I mean, that's not very sophisticated. You know, you might want to do like all browns or all blues or something. I just did some of these in a kind of very colourful way. And you can see in there, I've got some completed. I'll get one out ready. But in fact, I'll get 2 out ready. But let's do this first. So to add colour to these, I suggest that you use Perfect Pearls or some sort of mica powder. If you don't have lots of mica powders because you're not a polymer clayer like me, then I suggest you... Why? Then I suggest you use normal, like shiny eyeshadow. That's going to work just as well. I'm only going to do a couple of these squares. You don't need to see me do the whole thing. Now, guess what? I tried brushes, I tried my finger, I tried all kinds of things, and it turns out the best thing to add this with is actually a makeup applicator. Do you believe that? So, just do that, find your little square and add it. Oops, gently like that. Can you see that? Once you've done that colour, and as I say, you can choose your colours in a more sophisticated way than me. I hardly ever wear makeup or a bra, so, and then just add those colours like that. And the applicator works really well. So things flying in all directions. So there you go. Put those on, make it really pretty. Do all different colours, do whatever you want to do until you end up with something like this. Now, there are two ways to make these look nice and shiny. One way is to use UV resin and a UV resin lamp, and the other way is to use glossy accents, which they both work really nicely. I'll try and find you examples of where I use them. Hang on a moment. So this is the glossy accents, and I think it looks really good. I messed this one up slightly, so it can look even better. That's like a couple of layers of it. I put one on, let it dry. It kind of domes, but it's not. It does go into the cracks a little. I like glossy accents, and if you don't want to mess around with UV resin, that's the thing to use. And just give it a couple of coatings of that. If you do like UV resin, then you can do these. But I find UV resin, although it looks great and it domes and it looks amazing, it's also very frustrating, and quite often, for me, goes wrong. So I think quite often I touch it too soon after I've done it and make it not as glossy as it should be. But yeah, that one's rubbish, isn't it? So the best one I made I put on my tray, to be fair. That's what I mean about making a few. And I'll just show you quickly how to apply both those things, because they're very, very similar. Both of them need to be applied. You don't shake this, you don't want bubbles. Oops, oh gosh, it comes out so quickly. Both of them need to be taken beyond the edge of the thing. Watch out for bubbles, pop any bubbles, and then drag it beyond the edge, because it's going to shrink back a little and it domes. So if you just do that, you just cover the whole thing. Things crashing to the floor as I move. Why do I always work with such an overstocked table? The amount of times I ruin things that have been completed and they're absolutely fine because I'm doing something next to them. I can't even tell you. So yeah, so drag this off. And I don't know if you can see there, it's not quite over the edge, so I want it to come down over the edge if possible. I don't really mind if it gets on the bottom of it, because I might even give it a little thin layer on the bottom later, so, or varnish it or something. So in this case I'm being a little bit more careless than usual, just because my main priority is that it goes over the top properly. If you know better ways of doing this, do tell me in the comments, because there's a distinct possibility you will. So okay, I'm not going to faff around with that, I'm going to let it dry. And we're going to come to the UV resin one. So just let me wipe my pin. Note the highly sophisticated tool that I've got here. With the UV resin, it's a whole new ball game. It's remarkably similar to the other ball game, which is that we're going to put it on and we're going to try and spread it out without having too many bubbles. So here we go, and immediately it starts with a bubble. Or I should say, when you're using the mica powders, oh Lord, that wasn't a very good start. When you're using the mica powders, do try and make sure that you're wearing a mask, because they are horrible. Okay, so here's my UV resin, and I've made a right pig's ear out of that, haven't I? But I don't need to worry too much. I'll just give that a wipe. Right, let's not panic. Don't panic at home. I'll panic here. Again, I'm going to use my pin to drag this over the edge, because I'm kind of making a lid, a plastic lid for the box that the colours are in. Oh, off camera, I've just trashed this one. Oh, this is what I mean about not working in close proximity. So let's just, oh Lord. Okay, we're going to leave that one. All right, so here's my one go over there. This one is the UV resin one, and I've pulled it all to the edges. I don't want any bubbles in it. The way to get rid of the bubbles is to spark up my little lighter and just wave it above it so that it draws out any bubbles. Okay, let's not set fire to the house. I think we've run that out actually. And now I'm going to put it into the UV lamp. Lamp is over there. What? There's my UV lamp. So I'm going to pop that into the UV lamp and let that get clear. Baked. And this poor thing, oh Lord. This is why I say make a few. There you go. While I was so busy worrying about the UV one, I absolutely trashed this one. I flipped it over. And you know, that's nah. That's why I say make a few. Just leave it. We'll see how that one looks when it's dry. You can put another layer of the stuff over. Like I said, you really need two anyway. So we'll let that dry. I think you can see it's getting clearer because it's kind of cloudy at first. And even though I've flipped it over twice now, it's still not looking too bad. There's a little hole there. But yeah, we'll fill that in with a second layer. While we're waiting for the one in the UV light, I'll talk to you about the lipstick and the little pots. Now, I don't think it's even worth doing a demonstration of those. Basically, what you want to do is make two little pots. So you can use a cutter like this one, and then just dip a little hole in the middle of it with a ball tool, or the end of a well, like I've got these wooden skewers, I'll just use the end of that in to make a little hole. So you want to make two little pots out of black clay, and two, or well, as many as you like, and a few middles of the lipsticks, and just bake them according to manufacturer's instructions, the way I showed you. And that will mean that you've got two little pots and two little red bits. You can then roll your black as thinly as you can get it, or do it really thin. You're on your pasta machine, like 7 or something, and just wind it around the outside of that lipstick. And at the end, just make, so you've got this, hang on, let me show you. So you've got this, and you roll it in a very, very thin layer of black, and then at the end you make a smallest little dot you can, a little ball, and push it on the end to make the end of it. They're not fantastically realistic lipsticks, but they add to the scene. They look nice. For these little pots, once you've got them baked and the middles of your lipsticks baked, you can finish your lipsticks. You can finish these by mixing up some white clay with some Bake and Bond or something like that if you want to. That might help you to do it. You could just maybe use the white clay, and then colour the clay by doing what I said earlier, which is scraping off some colour from some soft pastels and mixing it in, so you can see you've got lots of colours there that you could use for makeup, if that makes any sense. So you make one pot for your blusher and one pot for your face powder, such as there. This little tray I was sent a load of stuff from New York, and that was in there, so I've used that, but it's not. You know, you could use something of your own there. You could use a finding, really, couldn't you, for a pendant or something? Just use the finding to do that. It's got a mirror on the bottom. I'm not like hugely thrilled about the mirror, so if yours didn't have a mirror, it wouldn't be the end of the world. We'll have a look at this one now. Bring it out of the UV light. Okay. Okay, I don't... Oh, well, this has kind of gone hard. I don't think it's quite finished yet. But as you can see, it makes a nice little makeup. And I would, what I've done with mine, once they're done, is I've sanded the bottom, and I've actually either put on another little layer of UV light on the bottom, or I've put some varnish on there. Phew. Well, the usual chaos. What you need to know is that this is the best tool I've found for a long time for making miniatures with polymer clay, and that is a 6-point plastic mesh canvas for embroidery. Oh, thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry it's always chaos. I love you all. I hope you enjoy making these things. Bye bye.